What happens when Hollywood fame collides with actual royalty, and neither party wants to give in? Tonight we are looking into one of the most intense moments in late-night TV history, a clash so heated that security had to step in, and a guest was escorted out. This is how a simple media appearance turned into a showdown of pride, sharp minds, and public image that caught everyone off guard. Tap that subscribe button and drop your opinion below, because this gets more dramatic by the minute, and you'll definitely want to weigh in on it. The set of Jimmy Kimmel Live was alive with its usual pre-show buzz. Cameras were being adjusted, sound checks were being finalized, and the audience was getting comfortable, unaware that they were about to witness a live broadcast like no other. Meghan Markle had shown up for what seemed like a regular interview to promote a new charitable effort she had been leading. Jimmy Kimmel, known for his sharp humor and ability to manage celebrity conversations with ease, had prepared thoroughly. His team had lined up light questions, fun talking points, and backup topics to keep things moving smoothly. But no one expected the guest to bring her own script, one that would put her in direct opposition to the host from the very beginning. As the show's familiar music faded and the applause settled, Jimmy greeted the audience with his usual cheerful smile. The crowd was engaged and responsive, the perfect atmosphere for late-night TV. Meghan entered the stage with grace and presence, the same qualities that made her a worldwide figure. She waved to the crowd and took her seat opposite Jimmy. "Welcome back to the show," Jimmy said warmly. "We're here with Meghan Markle, and it's great to have you. How's everything going?" "I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me," Meghan responded, sitting back with a smile that appeared pleasant to the audience. But Jimmy, seasoned as he was, picked up on the subtle sharpness in it. "Now I know you're here to speak about your new foundation work, which sounds fantastic. But I have to ask," Jimmy leaned in slightly, using the laid-back tone that made him a fan favorite, "what is life like outside the royal rules now? You can finally speak freely. No approval process anymore, right?" The question sounded casual, typical small talk that guests usually joke about or use to tell a light story. But Meghan's face tightened slightly, a sign Jimmy hadn't expected. "Well, Jimmy," she said calmly, though her words now carried a deliberate tone, "I think there's a false idea that I could not express myself before. I've always been someone who speaks up for what I believe in, regardless of the setting. I'm in." Jimmy caught the shift in her tone but tried to keep it light. Sure, but you must admit you have more space now to really open up. I mean, could you have come on a show like this while in the royal family and said exactly what was on your mind?" "I'm curious, Jimmy," Meghan replied, her smile now clearly more controlled. "What exactly are you hoping I will say? What is it you think I could not talk about before?" The audience laughed, thinking it was playful back and forth, but Jimmy was realizing his regular approach might not work tonight. "Oh, I'm not expecting anything specific," he said, trying to steer the talk back. "People are just interested in what your experience was really like, the parts they didn't see." "The behind-the-scenes part," Meghan echoed, her tone a little sharper now. "You mean like the way I was treated by the press? The way certain stories were completely made up?" she asked. Jimmy felt the balance slipping, but he knew sometimes tension made for better TV than jokes. "I think people just want to understand your view," Jimmy offered. "You've faced a lot of public attention, more than most could handle. How do you manage that? How do I manage it?" Meghan's voice was steady but clearly more intense. "I deal with it by being honest even when the truth is uncomfortable. I refuse to be silenced by those who want to control my story." Now the audience could tell this was no ordinary interview. The atmosphere had shifted and Jimmy sensed it too. Tried to gently redirect. "Absolutely, and I respect that. But when you're a public figure, people are going to form opinions, some good, some bad. Isn't that just part of the job?" Meghan's eyes narrowed. "Part of the job," she repeated. "Are you saying therapist headlines, the twisted stories, that I should have just accepted those things as normal?" The studio went quiet. This was not light conversation anymore, it was raw and serious. Jimmy, now aware of the depth he had triggered, responded cautiously. "No, I'm not saying that. I believe racism is wrong, and if that's what happened, that's Terrible. I'm just asking, how do you separate fair criticism from harmful lies? Fair criticism? Meghan raised her voice slightly. Jimmy, what exactly should I be fairly criticized for? Marrying someone I love, trying to bring progress to an outdated system, speaking up on issues that matter to me? Jimmy was in deep water now. He glanced toward his producers, but even they seemed unsure of what to do. I don't think those things deserve criticism, he said. I just think people sometimes confuse your personal feelings with your role. In a place like the royal family, isn't there a difference between handling issues publicly and handling them privately? Privately versus publicly, Meghan repeated, now clearly upset. What do you expect people to do when the private channels fail? When the system doesn't protect you or your family but works against you? What then? Just suffer insolence. To keep up appearances. The pressure in the room was thick. Even Jimmy, who had seen it all, was caught off guard. I think, he said carefully, sometimes dealing with problems from within, even when it's frustrating, can be more productive than going public. Meghan laughed, but it was a sharp, humorless sound. Within the system? Jimmy? The same system that leaked stories about me and refused to correct falsehoods? The same one that questioned my children's identity before they were born? What part of that should I have worked with? The room was completely still. This was no longer just TV, it was something bigger. Jimmy's producers were signaling urgently, but he wasn't sure what they wanted. Cut to commercial? Change the topic? Save the segment? Look, Meghan, Jimmy said, letting goof his usual cheerful tone. This is getting heavy. I wasn't trying to upset you. I wanted to have a real talk. A real talk? Meghan sounded stunned. You asked me here to discuss my charity work, and instead you've questioned my choices, hinted I should have dealt with mistreatment differently, and now you're acting like I brought it all on myself. Jimmy felt himself getting frustrated. He had tried to be balanced, to ask what viewers wanted to know, and yet every word seemed to be turned against him. That's not what I meant, he replied. Was trying to understand your side, but you're treating every question like an attack. Asking questions is fine, Meghan snapped back, her calm slipping. But it's how you ask, the assumptions behind each one, the idea that I should have quietly accepted being mistreated, that is what's offensive. The studio felt tense. Jimmy could see audience members shifting in their seats, unsure of how to react. Normally he would crack a joke, but instinct told him that would be a big mistake now. I never said you should accept being treated badly, Jimmy said, his voice rising. But there's a line between standing up for yourself and bringing family matters to the world stage. Some would say that's crossing it. Crossing a line, Meghan repeated, and Jimmy instantly knew he had stepped in it. Are you one of those people? Do you believe I went too far by telling mystery when no one else would? Jimmy felt trapped. If he said yes, it would look harsh. If he said no, he'd seem to contradict himself. I think everyone has the right to speak their truth, he said slowly. But being part of a public family comes with outcomes. How you share that truth has effects. Effects? Meghan's voice had a warning edge. Are you saying there should be consequences for me speaking honestly about my life? A murmur spread through the studio. Jimmy looked stunned. No, not at all, he hurried to explain. I just mean every action has a response. Responses? Meghan said, nodding slowly. So when I was attacked by Thepres, when my mental health broke down, when my kids were targeted, I should have stayed silent because the truth might make people uncomfortable. Jimmy felt stuck. No matter how he answered, he only seemed to dig deeper. The audience was stone silent, caught in a moment that felt like a car crash in slow motion. I'm not saying you shouldn't defend yourself, Jimmy insisted. Just maybe there were less explosive ways to do it. Explosive? Meghan's voice dropped but carried weight. So you think me telling my story was an overreaction? That talking about racism and mental health was too much? Jimmy could feel sweat on his forehead. The lights, usually harmless, now seemed blinding. No, I don't think that, he said. I just think sometimes private family matters are better, handled behind the scenes. Family matters? Meghan asked, her tone easier now. You think racism, a mental health crisis, and concerns for my children's safety are just private family problems? Now even the audience was shifting restlessly. Whispers were spreading. Jimmy's producers were signaling even more frantically, unsure whether to stop or let it play out. Some things, Jimmy said, voice tight, might be better addressed in private ways instead of public interviews. Meghan let out a sharp laugh. Private ways? The system itself failed me, Jimmy. The private ways were part of the problem. When those roots fall apart, what do you expect people to do? Jimmy was running out of room to explain himself. I'm not denying you had real issues, he said. I'm just saying not everyone agrees that going public was the right solution. Air dirty laundry? Meghan asked coldly. You think my experience with racism was just dirty laundry I should have kept hidden? The room went so silent Jimmy could hear the AC humming. Looking at the audience, he saw stunned, disturbed faces. Some were whispering. Others were starting to leave. That's not what I meant, Jimmy said quietly. But even he didn't sound convinced. Then what did you mean? Meghan leaned in. Because it sounds like you believe I should have just lived with what he went through instead of talking about it. Jimmy looked across at her. The woman who had walked on stage earlier was gone. This version of Meghan Markle was unfiltered, determined, and absolutely unwilling to back down. I think we should pause, Jimmy said, his voice giving away his unease. This conversation is going further than either of us expected. Is it really? Meghan asked, her voice sharp. Or was this exactly the discussion you were hoping for? Did you want me to just smile while you questioned every move I made to protect myself? Something in Jimmy snapped. He had always been professional, but now he felt like he was being pushed too far. You know what, Meghan, he said firmly, his friendly tone gone. I invited you here for an open conversation, but you've turned every question into an attack. Honestly, I'm tired of being painted as some kind of racist villain just for doing my job. The audience gasped. Jimmy Kimmel had lost his cool on live TV. Normal questions? Meghan repeated softly. Tell me, Jimmy, what's normal about spending a whole interview asking why a woman spoke out about being mistreated? I never said you could not speak up, Jimmy fired back, all diplomacy gone. I said the way you did it caused damage. Damage? Meghan's voice finally rose. What did I damage by speaking the truth? You made reconciliation with your family impossible, Jimmy said, not even thinking before he spoke. You made people choose sides. You turned something personal into public drama. The studio was frozen. Meghan looked at Jimmy, and his heart sank. Public drama, she repeated. So my pain is entertainment now? Jimmy knew he had said something he could not take back, but he was too frustrated to care. You've built a career around your grievances, he said. And some people are tired of hearing about how unfair your life has been, while enjoying privileges others only dream. So the room erupted in noise, outrage, shouting, people walking out. Meghan stood calm but visibly furious. Let me be clear, she said. You think that because I had opportunities I should have stayed silent? That I lost the right to speak out? Jimmy stood up too, his emotions overpowering his logic. When you have a platform, you should use it to build something, not tear others down. Tear others down? Meghan asked, her voice shaking with anger. I told the truth about how I was treated. If that truth hurts someone, maybe they should look at their own actions. That's your version, Jimmy shot back. There are always two sides. Two sides? Meghan's face drained of color. What's the other side of racism? Of someone thinking about ending their life? Please explain what the other version of that looks like. Jimmy knew he was standing on the edge, but he could not stop himself. Maybe, he said, sometimes people get criticized for real reasons, and pulling the race card is not always the right answer. It was like a bomb went off. The audience was in uproar. Meghan stared at him, her expression now unreadable. Playing the race card, she said, quietly but clearly. Jimmy Kimmel just told a biracial woman she was playing the race card while discussing racism. Jimmy's face went pale. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, Meghan said. And now everyone knows who you really are. She stood up. I came here to talk about helping others. Instead, you insulted me, questioned me, and now suggested my experience was fake. Meghan, Let's take a breath, Jimmy pleaded. Do. Not tell me to calm down, Meghan snapped. You just denied everything I've gone through. Security was now moving in, not because Meghan was a threat, but because the situation had become dangerous and divisive. The crowd was split, emotional and vocal. I think we need to wrap this, Jimmy said, looking for help. Oh, we are wrapping this, Meghan said, but not because you want to. We're ending it because I won't sit here and be disrespected by someone who clearly does not understand racism. Security approached. Meghan raised her hand. I don't need help, she said. I can walk out just fine. She turned to Jimmy one last time. I hope someday you realize what this moment says about you, why you felt the need to attack someone just for speaking their truth. I was not attacking you, Jimmy said, but his voice was lost in the noise. Yes, you were, Meghan said, and everyone saw it. With that, she exited the stage, head held high, leaving behind a scene of chaos, a split audience, an overwhelmed host, and a moment that would go down in TV history. What began as a standard appearance had turned into a powerful confrontation about race, power, and the truth one noon saw coming. So what do you think? Did Jimmy go too far, or did Meghan overstep? Share your view in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and tell us which celebrity clash we should explore next.